Hello divers and dive enthusiasts. Let's dive right in. For all divers, the Safe Dive Kit is one of the most discussed pieces of equipment, with its contents varying based on individual needs and preferences. For me, I've chosen to use a toiletry bag due to its flexibility and practical design. What I like about it is that I can easily squeeze this kit into any travel bag, wherever there's available space. Let's take a closer look at it. I have here a pair of cycling or weightlifting gloves. While not always allowed on dive sites, they can be very useful when you need to hold on to a mooring line. Good to have, but not an essential item. Next, we have a Velcro strap. Nothing major, but it's handy if you need to secure something to yourself or temporarily fasten an item. We have the tank lights next. I have two of them. While not strictly a safe dive item, tank lights are highly recommended for night dives. A few meters of SMB line, useful for tying or securing items. It doesn't take up much space and is lightweight, making it easy to carry. This is a small kit with screws, bolts for my backplate, regulator, and a few essential tools, my lifeline safety device. This small bag contains additional SMB line and bungee cord. I included also a pair of rubber tubes in case one breaks. Here we have a small roll of tape, super glue, zip ties, and two mouthpieces. Next up are the batteries. This one is for my transponder, but I usually carry spare AA batteries for my shearwater as well. Here is my silicone grease and brush. That it's a bit bulky, and there are smaller, more compact silicone tubes available, but this one will do for me. This is my trusty companion on every dive trip, the O-ring picker, that it's essential for quick fixes and ensuring a leak-free dive experience. These typically come with O-rings, but since these have already been used, I prefer to keep my O-rings separate for easy access. And I also include an approximately 3-meter long braided reef hook line, which is essential for safely securing yourself when needed. Since a metal wire snapped on my wife's reef hook underwater, I now carry a ready-to-use line with bolt snaps on every dive. A Phillips and flathead screwdriver. Not absolutely essential, but definitely useful for quick fixes and adjustments when needed. A short 10-centimeter hose for the transponder. It rarely breaks, but it's always good to have as a backup. These two 1/4-inch camera screw-on eye bolts are lightweight and always kept on hand in case one gets lost from my selfie stick. This is my DIY Bungee GoPro rope, perfect for when I want to switch from the selfie stick to something less cumbersome. A set of spare mask straps is a must-have, ensuring you're always prepared in case of any breakage. Depending on the make and model of your dive mask, it's always a good idea to bring along a spare strap, just in case. And of course, more tools. Here we have an adjustable wrench and a set of hex wrenches, always handy for those unexpected adjustments. It's important to always check that the tools you plan to bring are compatible with your gear to ensure they're actually useful when you need them, especially if you fly halfway around the world to your dive location. These two items are more suited for a medical kit, but I keep them in my dive kit just in case. 1 or 2 rolls of medical sports tape have saved the day, and the whole dive trip when I've had to tape up some painful blisters on my toes. I started using dive socks to proactively prevent blisters, but the tape still comes along. This is an inflator hose valve tool. It's more specialized, but I keep it in my kit since it doesn't take up much space. Here we have a complete service kit for my swivel adapter on the second stage. It's not something I would start repairing rather than taking out and connecting the hose directly to the regulator. These are 2 high-pressure SPG hoses that they're a backup in case of any issues with the primary hoses during the dive. Here's a new addition to my kit. This multi-tool, that it's a recent acquisition and will definitely be a valuable addition to my setup. And there you have it, a complete look at all the items in my Safe Dive kit. But now you might be asking, wait a minute, who's carrying all of this with today's airline weight restrictions? That's why we're going to weigh each piece and find out exactly how much it all weighs. Putting together a Safe Dive kit is always a weighting off of what do I really need to bring and what can I most likely get at the dive site. This involves assessing the risks and likelihood of what you truly need to bring versus what can probably be obtained at the dive location. Assuming your gear is properly maintained, most dive centers or liveaboards will have the necessary tools, common spare parts, and equipment readily available. It becomes trickier when diving at remote locations. For example, when diving in Raja Ampat, certain types of batteries may not be available. Doing research on scuba diving websites or directly contacting the dive operator can always be helpful. Additionally, if you're a local diver regularly visiting the same dive sites and don't face transport or weight restrictions, such as living and diving on an island, quantity is not a concern and you can bring as much as you like. In my case, I'm carrying items for both my gear and my wife's gear. From experience, I can tell you that when traveling, you'll gradually sort out items that aren't necessary. I know that for the tech-savvy among us, there's a strong desire to be prepared for every situation, avoiding the frustration of not having the spare part you need at the moment. Thus, you're compelled to make an educated guess based on the specifics of the dive trip at hand. And don't forget, there's always someone who can help you out, whether it's the dive operator or another diver on the trip. I know some might argue that this isn't a typical Safe Dive kit, but rather a mix of accessories you'd bring anyway, like tank lights and batteries. And I have to agree, this kit can and should be customized to suit your personal preferences. Rightly so, it involves several factors that influence the actual contents of a Safe Dive kit. Just to give you full insight, let me show you what's inside the small bungee and line bag. Inside, we have an SMB line, 8mm bungee, 3mm bungee, rubber bands, O-rings, and the plastic bag itself. The quantity and length of each item are entirely up to individual preference. I repurposed an old, easy-cut plastic bag to store the spare nuts. And what do we have in there? Let's start with a few port plugs and air swifles, small and always good to have. For the Nautilus Lifeline Marine Rescue GPS, I include an antenna winder and a screwdriver. Next, we have some screws for my dive knife, and some screws for mounting the backplate to the wing. That's everything in this small package. The total weight of all parts adds up to 1,439 grams. This is 1 kilo and 440 grams. Considering the dive luggage weighs 4.5 kilograms, the gear itself totals 12 kilograms, and the clothes add another 5 kilograms to the 1.4 kilograms of additional weight from the kit is relatively insignificant. That being said, if you're looking to optimize further, you could easily reduce another half a kilo from the kit. Additionally, airlines typically have weight restrictions of 20 kilograms, and on longer flights, it may go up to 25 kilograms. Some seaplanes in the mail dives even allow less than 20 kilograms of cargo weight. This shows that gear optimization is an ongoing challenge, and 12 kilograms for gear is definitely on the higher end. Deciding whether to bring an underwater flashlight, a lobster stick, a spare mask, or simply rent certain equipment at your holiday destination is the tricky decision to make, without compromising its functionality. And that's a wrap for this video. Keep in mind that putting together a Safe Dive kit is ultimately a very personal task. It's about choosing the right tools and gear that suit your individual needs, preferences, and diving style. Everyone's kit will look a bit different, but the goal is always the same: being prepared and diving safely. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you found this helpful. See you next time.